It's Tuesday, and if it's Tuesday, it's Jason Sukamel recruiting update day. Should be your favorite day of the week. Mr. WKRP in Cincinnati himself.
Jason, I bought this shirt for myself. Can I confess, Anwar? Yeah. I bought this shirt for myself for Christmas, and I bought another one. I don't know how closely you ever watched WKRP, the show back in the 70s, I think. But there's a very famous episode where they drop turkeys from a helicopter for Thanksgiving, thinking the turkeys can fly, and the turkeys are just plummeting to the ground. So it's seriously one of my favorite skits of all time in sitcom history. So I bought a shirt that says "I survived the WKRP turkey drop."
No. I can't say I watched it that intently.
I'm telling you, go on YouTube and watch WKRP turkey drop. It's the best 3 minutes in sitcom history, I think. Yeah.
Hey, all right, I'm putting it in my notes right now. WKRP turkey drop. I will do that after the show, Jason. Okay. Jason, speaking of things dropping, all right. Do I say Mr. Feaster to make the amateur boys who are in the chat not say Booby, or because first of all, I recently realized that Booby's just his nickname, right?
Yeah, right.
What's his first name?
Ethan is his first name.
Okay, so if we went Ethan Feaster, people wouldn't have as much fun with it, right?
No, man, no, come on, you got to go. And listen, the first time I ever talked to him, I just said, I said, "Hey, do you like to go by Ethan or Booby?" He's like, "No, it's Booby." So, dude, it's Booby. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if he called him Ethan if he'd respond, Anwar.
Okay, well, then so be it, Mr. Booby himself. You know, it was so funny, Jason. I feel like it was just a couple of months ago, and there was some reports out there that Booby, may not have Texas in his top 5. They maybe wasn't going to visit Texas, so on and so forth. And I remember after you said it all, I was like, I don't care. And I remember saying, all right, I feel like we do this every year. Wake me up. He's going to put Texas back in his top something at some point. He'll probably take a visit in the fall or something like that. Blah, 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 blah. Well, lo and behold, Jason, Booby's doing what young men do, which is change their mind. And so you have an update that should make everybody pretty happy.
Yeah, this one's a little different, though. It's not like him playing games. And I don't know that I would technically say he changed his mind. Let me give you some backstory. First off, Booby Feaster, 5-star receiver from DeSoto, right? Recently reclassified from 2027 to the 2026 class. He's a guy we've been talking about literally since his 8th grade year, I think. So he's been on everybody's radar for a long time. There was a time, Anwar, maybe year and a half, I was like, okay, I think Texas is going to get this guy. He carries around a Texas backpack all the time. He visited Texas a bunch. Texas at the time, Jonte Cook, who was still in the good graces of the people in Austin, the DeSoto pipeline there, receiver pipeline. Well, then Booby, he reclassified, which kind of escalated things. And, some people will tell you, hey, man, maybe you shouldn't have reclassified. Maybe just slow things down a little bit. It's okay. You're still young. But he reclassified. And Texas has a lot of elite guys in this 2026 class that they're recruiting and they're high on. Well, I'm not saying Texas isn't high on Booby Feaster, but maybe sometimes the recruiting rankings and a guy that's in the spotlight a lot like Booby gets a little bit more love from fans than maybe coaches would tell you. So Texas kept recruiting him. They are still recruiting him, obviously. But Booby has been open. He said, hey, I'm going to take 4 official visits, not 5, not 10. I'm going to take 4. Whatever reason, that's the number he and his family settled upon. He filled out his 3 weekends. There's 3 weekends in June you can take official visits because the last one is a dead period. So he filled out his 3 June official visits. It's USC, it's Texas A&M, and LSU. Okay. So he wanted to maybe take a Texas visit that last weekend of May. And Texas was like, man, we don't really do that. We have never taken a May official visitor. They just never have. Texas does it in June. That's just what they do. I don't know the reason. I'm sure Sark's got a reason, but it's kind of like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Whatever they're doing.
He wanted to go the last week of May.
The last weekend of May, exactly. I think maybe even might spill into June 1st. I'm not sure.
So yeah, well, typically, so there's typical that week is two things. It's the week of Memorial Day is that Monday,
Is it? Okay.
and
Oh,
so
he'd be gone
so
Sunday.
usually he would give a couple of things. Usually he gives that staff the week off, and also Sark is usually in Florida at Destin for the SEC
Oh,
spring
okay.
meetings.
But the meetings, the visit would go Friday through Sunday. So our spring meetings, I
The
mean, whatever. You could bring him in April. You could bring him in any
Yeah,
weekend.
but I'm just saying,
Oh,
I know he's flying out typically on Memorial Day. He might be there until like Wednesday or Thursday or something like that. So depending on his schedule, things that he has to do. So I do know he's probably thinking work and then give the staff off a couple of more days before that thing. So I do know that's kind of like, if you're asking like what the precipice is, I think that has something to do with it.
but you've got some schools literally that start scheduling official visits like the first week of April, and you can do them all of April, all of
Yeah.
May, all of June. So I don't know what the reasoning is exactly, but Texas is like, nope, no April, no May visits. So Booby, instead of going to Texas that last week of May for that fourth visit, he scheduled Miami. Okay, so I was like, okay, things are cooling with Texas, and probably a two-way street there a little bit. But he did visit this Saturday on I guess it was Sunday. I talked to Booby, and he said, "Hey, man, it was a good visit." And Chris Jackson, the wide receivers coach, really made me feel prioritized again, which I think was maybe something Booby was doubting a little bit. But he said, "I feel like a priority." And bottom line is, he said, "Hey, I'm probably going to reshuffle my visits and schedule a Texas official visit." Now, does that mean he could try to schedule for that last weekend of May? Probably not. But maybe what he had mentioned to me is like maybe doing like a midweek visit in June. You can come in like Tuesday through Thursday in June, which isn't necessarily ideal. You'd rather have these guys coming in on a weekend when all the other recruits are there. But Texas has done it before. They've done midweek visits before. So, if Booby really wants to come in, if Texas really wants to bring him in, I think Texas will get an official visit, probably a midweek visit in June. But, again, we'll see how that kind of shakes out over the next month or something, see if it actually gets on the schedule.
Jason, it just seems like a weird like hill to just you can visit at any point, right? It doesn't have to be like a quote unquote May unless he's saying I'm announcing on June 2nd, right? Like if he's saying I'm announcing on June 2nd, June 4th, whatever it is, my birthday is that day, like my mother's birthday is that day. That's one thing. It just seems like okay, well, all right, well, Texas doesn't do visits that weekend. Like, okay, then come in June. Like, what's the big deal?
Well, guys don't like taking midweek visits normally. I mean, it's just, I don't know why, because you probably get a lot more personalized attention, right? You might be the only guy there.
Yeah.
But just traditionally, guys take weekend visits. Their families can come with them a lot easier. It's just usually a Friday through Sunday deal. And the 3 Friday through Sundays in June that are available, he's already got his visits locked up. So he's trying to find another weekend. That's not going to work. If it's going to be Texas, it's going to have to be a midweek visit.
Okay, fair enough. Important scale for you, Jason. Like let's talk. If it was, DeCorian Moore from 1 year ago, or Micah Hudson from 2 years ago, and look, they don't get him, but they obviously rebound and recruit pretty well. But to get a Ryan Wingo, to get a Jamie French and Khalid Lockett. So, what's the important scale for this one for you?
That's a good question. He's not DeCorian Moore in my eyes, just in terms of a prospect. And that's no slap to Booby Feaster. I've said, hey, in 25 years, DeCorian's probably top 2 receiver I've ever seen, right? So, Micah Hudson is in that kind of realm. But importance, you said it. You've got Ryan Wingo, who's still young, right? Sophomore. You got Parker Livingston, who we're hearing, I think all of us collectively are hearing is doing good things, right? He's still young. You've got some really dynamic young receivers that just arrived on campus in January. So you're going to continue to want to reload at the receiver position, but I don't know that it's a killer for Texas if they don't get a Booby Feaster or any of these other receivers. And they're going to need to take 2 or 3 receivers in this class. You're going to do that every year, but they've got such young talent. They're kind of stockpiling young talent. If they miss on a guy that's, as high caliber as Booby Feaster, I think you can survive it. You got good young players on the roster already. You can recruit some next year. schools like LSU, although LSU's recruiting the receiver position really well this year. Obviously, Texas A&M, USC. I don't know what their receiver depth charts are off the top of my head, but I think Texas, if they don't get a guy like Booby Feaster, they can absorb that and they'll be just fine. And there's also the portal, of course, that they can go to.
It's so funny you asked. You went into what my thoughts were, Jason. Just I know we're talking Booby, but obviously you had something about the Ryan Wingo injury, a little bit of a hamstring that's going to keep him out. DeAndre Moore is on the shelf at right now, and it's of course it's springtime. But how did the portal opens up in a couple of weeks, Jason, and adding something to the 2025 team, just your thoughts on maybe how important it is now to really attack the receiver position, because it's so fascinating to me. Because Jason, last year, Sark said, "Well, I didn't want to go to the season with a bunch of inexperienced guys." Well, I mean, you've got the same kind of scenario this year. So when the portal opens up in a couple of weeks, are you expecting a lot of action? Or especially the receiver portion. That's what I mean.
Yeah. I know people inside the locker room, if you will, are saying, hey, it's going to happen. They're going to take a receiver. I heard that again yesterday when kicking around. I'd heard that previously, but I heard it again yesterday when kicking around on the Ryan Wingo stuff with him suffering called a minor hamstring injury. I mean, what I was told is like he could probably try to power through it, but then you risk maybe a more significant injury.
Exactly.
And honestly, it might be a bit of a blessing in disguise. I mean, what you're going to get from Ryan Wingo, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, the more reps he gets with Arts, but you got all summer to do that, and you got all fall camp to do that. But now you can get some of these young guys like Jamie French and Khalil Lockett. Aaron Butler's a name that was presented to me yesterday. It's like, hey, you guys aren't talking enough about Aaron Butler. Those guys can start getting more work, more reps, more meaningful action. See how they do. So to me, I was talking to someone about just this yesterday, and I said, okay, they're going to go to the portal and get a receiver. That's the plan. I mean, obviously it depends on who's out there, but that is the plan, to go get at least one. But does that maybe cut into the development opportunities for some of these young guys? Mm-hmm. It's just kind of a vicious cycle that's hard to get out of, right? If you start going to the portal every year, well, then your young guys are not going to be able to develop and be ready. Not year one, obviously. I mean, Ryan Wingo was the exception because he was such an amazing talent once he got on campus. But, has it maybe, we're seeing or hearing, right, that Parker Livingston is, I think probably going to be a starter the way things are shaping up right now. Everything I hear, every time I, check around, it's like, oh, Parker Livingston made big plays at practice again. Did that cut into Parker Livingston, his development last year by having all these transfer guys in front of him? I don't know. He seems to be doing just fine, but he might have gotten a little bit more experience last year, game experience that would have made him more game ready this year, would have given you more confidence in him as a starter this year. So I don't know. It's kind of a vicious cycle, but I also understand Texas is in, hey, we want to win now stage, right? Mm-hmm. They're not thinking 2-3 years down the road. They're thinking, hey, we are a championship caliber team right now. If getting an experienced receiver helps us get over the hump, then that's what you do. And then, the young guys can kind of figure it out. So, but to answer your question, yeah, I fully expect them. That's what I've been told. People on the team have been told, hey, they will be getting a transfer receiver. Do these injuries maybe make it where they even try to get a couple on more? I don't know. We'll see, but I fully expect them to get at least one.
They're starting receivers right now for the rest of this spring, right? is and Catch had something on the board, right? Aaron Butler, Dalen McCutcheon, Parker Livingstone. Mm-hmm. The only other healthy scholarship receivers are Jamie French, Khalil Lockett, and Michael Terry. That's it.
Yeah, but I'd say you're gonna see which dudes can sink or swim, right? Of that freshman class, true freshman class. So,
it is, but how do you think that helps or hinders Arch as far as getting ready for the season? Like it looks like if you're spending the spring with guys that you won't be throwing to a lot in the fall, I don't know. Does that help him at this point, or does it hinder him in a little bit?
I don't think it helps. I don't know. Arch is pretty positive. He may tell you differently, but I got to think you want to be throwing to the guys you're going to be throwing to, for the most part next year, right? Getting your timing down, just even little eye signals, just little things like that. the more reps you can get with your top end guys, I think the better in terms of speed, what they do well, ball placement, where a guy likes it, just communication, verbal, and like I said, just seriously like just mental communication. I mean, everything you can do to get more reps with those top guys, I think you would take it. So I don't know that I want to say it hinders him, but I don't think it's ideal either. If you're throwing to, God forbid, other guys go down and suddenly you're throwing to a bunch of walk-ons. I mean, no, that's not ideal. You want to be throwing to the guys you're going to be throwing to in games next year.
Where is Kai Money when you need him is the question. Jason, kind of switching gears a little bit. It seems like Nicholas Robinson gets on campus, and he must have. I guess they can't give him those goodie bags anymore in the hotel, right? That's kind of a thing now? They can't.
That's an official visit thing, but yeah, even that's kind of been poo-pooed on official visits, even. Yeah. So.
Well, he must have liked the steak dinner or wherever they took, because it seemed like he didn't waste any time, Jason, from the time he got on campus to the time he's like, I'm in. Tell us a little bit about the Texans getting a pickup this weekend, an offensive lineman, big guy, by the way, Nicholas Robinson out of Klein. Is it Klein or Klein? It's Klein.
Klein. Yeah, you're thinking of Killeen up north.
Killeen,
Klein down by the Houston area. Yeah. Nick Robertson. It's funny, Almar, because didn't have him on the radar to show up for last week, and we knew, I had a list of kind of expected visitors, and thankfully I went out there in the morning, and I was just kind of, for lack of better terms, stalking guys as they're checking in for this. It wasn't a junior day. They were just bringing guys in for a visit, and they let them watch practice and kind of mingle with them. So call it a mini junior day, if you will. But anyway, so I'm out there, and, guys that I expected to show up, hey, there you are, take a picture. Hey, there you are. And I see this big dude kind of standing off in the distance. I'm like, who is that? And I was like, oh, is that Big Nick? And so I walk up and I say, hey, what's your name again? And he goes, Nicholas Robertson. I said, oh, yeah, I thought that was you. So immediately when I was like, oh, Nick Robertson is here, I said, okay, he's on commitment watch, because he's visited a couple times previously, including for the junior day in January. If you remember, Sark was sick at that one. He couldn't attend. Mm-hmm. There was some chatter that maybe Nick was going to commit then. Maybe he's been close to committing multiple times. So I kind of thought, okay, this one might go down today. And then sure enough, he goes to practice. He does all that stuff, meets with Kyle Flood. And it was towards the end of the day, I don't even remember, 3:30ish or something like that. He verbally committed, and then it hits Twitter and so on and so forth. But, I talked to him as he was leaving campus, and he just said, hey, I've known this is where I wanted to go. I didn't want to waste Texas's time anymore. Loves the development. He said, the best quote he said, and I don't have a direct quote in front of me, but if you want to win championships, Texas is the place to do it. I mean, if you want to win a national championship, this is the place. So pretty easy decision for him. He said he's probably going to shut recruiting down. Texas A&M was a school that was really after him. Could they maybe stay on him, try to get him to visit? Maybe. We'll see. But he said, I think I just want to shut it down. This is a big weight lifted off of my shoulders. He's the second offensive lineman commitment for Kyle Flood. So they're kind of building that. They want to have a big offensive line class. This gives them two with Nick Robertson and Max Wright, but really good player, Rivals 250 player. Just a big, I actually watched this film again this morning just to kind of refresh myself. He's his film, offensive line film, right? Not always super exciting, but his film's like almost 8 minutes long, Almar.
Oh, wow.
I think I watched like 3.5 minutes, and I was like, every single block has been a pancake. The first 3.5 minutes. Just a big mauler, probably he plays left tackle in high school, probably going to be a guard at the next level. Just overpowers guys at the high school level. Get a little handsy. I was watching him, so he's going to have to work on that a little bit. But, really good player with really good upside, really good pickup. It was down to Texas and kind of Texas A&M, but Texas was always the clear leader in that one.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it. And so now when we look at, like you said, they already have a commitment from someone else, right? So they've got two at this moment. Again, when I kind of asked you a little bit, Jason, as far as the must-haves as relates to this, the receivers, when it comes to offensive linemen this year, they've got two, but give me is there other people who are the must-haves? Is it still, are we still on Felix Ojo and John Turntime, watch at this moment?
Yeah, I would say those are the two main ones, and Zayden Krempin is another one, another offensive tackle. There's about 7 or 8 names of offensive linemen that Texas is recruiting. There's a couple out of California. There's one who's committed to Oregon, who's going to visit Texas at the end of April. There's a guy in Sam Rosenborough out of Florida. But the 3 in-state guys, in fact, let me pull up my list here, Elmar, because Zayden Krempin, what is today? April 1st. Zayden Krempin's visiting on April 3rd. So 2 days from now, he'll visit. Okay. Big-time offensive lineman that Texas is after. Felix Ojo is now visiting on April 5th. He'll be in Austin this Friday. And Turntine, I've got on my list. I got so many names on this list, I don't remember, but I know Turntine is scheduled. Okay, April 12th. So that following Friday, Turntine will visit Texas. So things are starting to pick up. Things are starting to roll a little bit this next week. I would say 3 of their top prospects or top tackle prospects will all be on campus. I don't think we're going to see any fireworks from any of those guys, but it's good for Texas to get them on campus, kind of get some FaceTime with them and Kyle Flood, get to watch practice, so on and so forth. All those guys are looking at summer decisions. Texas is heavily in the mix for all 3 of those in-state guys. Can they maybe land 2 out of 3? Could they get Krempin and Ojo or Ojo and Turntine? It's possible. It's certainly possible, but they've got Max Wright is a pure offensive tackle. If you get, let's say, a Felix Ojo, that's a second pure offensive tackle. It might be tough to get a John Turntine or a Zayden Krempin. I mean, they can do it. I mean, anything's possible, but you're just trying to kind of cherry pick at this point. Maybe get 3, maybe 4 more guys. Combination of interior and offensive tackles. But there's a lot of names. Kyle Flood's got Texas in a pretty good position for a lot of guys.
All right. Well, that sounds like a good position. But now let's talk about a bad position. Running back. Jaylen Osborne comes out with his top 2. Texas is now on the list. I don't know how surprised you were with that, but he's basically down to Michigan and Notre Dame. Looks like Texas is out of the mix there as of this moment. Jaylen Osborne, what may or may not have happened there, and where does Texas go from the running back perspective?
Yeah, I don't know if you were talking to someone at Texas, they'd tell you it's a bad situation. And I say that I love Jaylen Osborne. I think he's a really good player, and he's down to Michigan and Notre Dame, right? What does that tell you? I mean, he's a big-time player. I mean, he could pick up the phone and commit to anywhere in the country. Genuinely one of the better kids in this class. I just love him. I wish it was going to work out with Texas, but it's just not. I mean, Tashard Choice really valued Jaylen Osborne. When Tashard left, Texas kind of shifted its focus a little bit under Chad Scott. KJ Edwards out of Carthage is kind of the big in-state guy there still. And I mean, he's a top 35 national guy. So he's a big-time player, more of a home run hitter than Jaylen Osborne. So Texas likes KJ Edwards. I think they're in a really good spot there. I think it's going to be Texas or Texas A&M. I've heard SMU's a sneaky player with KJ Edwards. I heard that recently, so keep an eye on there. They just hosted Xavier Crowell, the number 1 running back in the country, was in town all weekend. People still seem to think that's going to be he's from the state of Alabama, so people think Alabama and Auburn are going to be the main competitors there, but Texas is in the mix. I think Texas is kind of hanging around just outside of that top 2, but with a chance to maybe pounce. There's another guy that's coming in next week is Elijah Kimball. Texas hasn't offered him yet. I think that's going to change. I'm pretty sure that's going to change when he does visit. He's from New York, Buffalo, New York. A guy that we haven't talked about a lot, but he is visiting next week. So they want to take 2 in this class. If you feel like they're going to get KJ Edwards, then who's that second back going to be? Could it be an Elijah Kimball? Could it be an Xavier Crowell, the number 1 back in the country? I mean, it's very possible. Elijah Kimball's a not national top 200 back, high 4-star guy. So they've got some pretty good irons in the fire there. I think Texas feels pretty good about their position at the running back spot.
Talk about how that visit went with Crowell. How did you get a chance to talk to him at all?
Very briefly. And I've tried to call him. I haven't got him on the phone. I actually saw him while he was on campus, and he's kind of just hanging around. So I don't really like to interview him while they're on campus. I mean, it's an unofficial visit. I mean, I could have technically, but just kind of made small talk. And he was there with his brother and maybe his parents. So, and this was his 3rd visit to Texas, Elmar, and he's got an official visit in June again. So, I mean, he's no stranger to UT, but this is his first chance to get to talk to Chad Scott. And he just said, just generally, he's like, how's it going? Oh, man, it's going great, having a blast. So, he's tweeted some stuff. So, I think Texas is in the mix there. But again, he's a big-time player. Auburn and Alabama. He's from the state of Alabama. Those. I mean, I know Texas just got Justice Terry last year, but those are tough battles to win when you got Alabama and Auburn battling for an in-state potential 5-star running back. So, let's be honest. I mean, NIL is going to be a huge part of that. He's a guy that reclassified like some of these others, like Booby Feaster we talked about. He's a recent reclassification. So, Texas is in the mix, but, it's going to be a hill to climb to win for Xavier Crowell.
One of the last things I'll ask you then, Jason, is it same hill to climb for Jaylen L, the wide receiver out of Frisco, Texas?
Yeah, we have him as a wide receiver in the Rivals database. Texas is actually recruiting him as a defensive back first with the opportunity to play some offense. Jaylen L, most people know his dad played football at Texas. His dad participated in track and field at Texas. His mom participated in track and field at Texas. So for the longest time, everybody's like, oh, that dude's probably going to go to Texas, right? Kind of like Jermichael Finley. And I'm like, well, I think so, but I'm not sure. So I talked to Jaylen this weekend. He was down at Texas Relays, participating in the high jump. He didn't jump as well as he wanted to in Texas Relays, but that's okay. But just last week, he did jump 7 foot onward. So this dude's a freakish athlete. He's 6 foot, 173 pounds. So to jump 7 foot is pretty remarkable, man. So he's a really good long jumper too. He ran the 200 meter or 110 meter hurdles rather. But anyway, so he was down at Texas Relays. I got a chance to talk to him. He was hoping to go by and visit the Texas coaches on Sunday. There's a weird rule. Like if you come in and run Texas Relays, you can't just walk across the street and meet with the Texas coaches. You have to basically leave campus when you're done competing and then come back like on your own. You can't even ride back with your team if someone else is competing. And then you basically have to come back and with a separate unofficial visit. He was hoping to do that on Sunday. I don't know that it happened. I didn't see anything on social media from him or anybody. I need to follow up on that. But he'll be back this spring. He'll be back for his official visit. But to your point, is it an uphill climb for Texas right now? I think it is. It's not, it's not too steep of a climb, but it is an uphill climb. He visited this spring. He visited LSU. He visited Oregon. He visited Ohio State. He visited Georgia. These are all unofficial visits, of course. And he said to me, and me and a couple other reporters, like, hey, there is one school that kind of has his attention more than the others. He said it's close, but there is one school that has his attention more than the other ones. These upcoming visits and official visits will be key for him. Can Texas win out for Jaylen L? Absolutely. Are they the team that's setting the pace right now? No, they're not. There's another team out there that's a little bit in front of Texas. So you got to hope those legacy things help out. But I asked him, I said, well, does that help Texas or staying close to home? And he goes, no, man, I got a sister that plays basketball at UNLV. I got a sister that runs track for USC. He goes, I don't care if I have to leave the state. He goes, on one hand, yeah, staying in state and continuing my family's legacy would be cool at UT. But he goes, if I got a better opportunity at one of these out-of-state schools, I mean, you can see it with my sisters. I don't have a problem leaving the state. So, we'll see. There's still some room for room to make up some ground in that one. But right now, Texas is playing a little bit behind.
T has a question for you before we get out of here. Jason, why does Texas struggle recruiting the top guys out of the Houston area, Jason?
I don't know that I would say Texas has struggled. I don't know if he's talking, Tracy, I don't know if you're talking about this class in general or just, they just got a commitment from Nick Robertson over Texas A&M from a guy who's from the Houston area. I don't know that I would say Texas has struggled in that area. They've done pretty well in DFW. Jeff Banks is a big influence in DFW. I see Tashard Choice was an influence up there, but not anymore. But, I think this particular class, things are just moving pretty slowly. Texas has 4 commitments. Chris Stewart, two of their 4 commitments are from the Houston area. Chris Stewart, the wide receiver out of Pearland, Shadow Creek, is a guy that people were like, oh, I don't know if that's going to work out. Maybe Texas looks other places. Listen, man, Chris Stewart has had a phenomenal spring. He's up at these 7-on-7 tournaments up in the Dallas area. And he's been killing it up there. He's probably re-solidified himself as a national top 100 type player. But Tracy said the last 4 or 5 years they have. I'd have to go back and look, Tracy, honestly, go back and look at the last 4 or 5 commitment lists. But I know there's been a bit more focus in the Dallas area. Like I said, Jeff Banks recruits Dallas heavily. Tashard Choice did a lot of Dallas stuff. But, they got a guy like Mark Orfe who's got Houston ties from North Shore down there. So, sometimes it's just a matter of there's no rhyme or reason why it's Dallas or Houston or East Texas. It's just where the talent is, where that talent, which guys seem to like you more than others. But I don't think there's any one area of the state or even out of state that I worry about Texas recruiting. They're going to recruit Louisiana well. They're going to recruit Florida well, Arizona, to some degree, Georgia and Alabama. Obviously, they're going to recruit the Metroplex, Houston, East Texas. I don't really think there's a pattern. I don't think there's a reason for concern about Texas in any one area. They're going to recruit well no matter where they go.
Jason, last question. We'll end it on this note. I'm going to ask you something I've never asked you before, Jason.
Okay.
All right.
I'm a little nervous all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I think you'll be okay. What do you think about the Texas women's basketball team making it to the Final Four? This is one of those things where we don't actually have to cover it, so we can watch it and just kind of enjoying it. But watching that game and everything, like your thoughts on this season.
What's funny, Amar, is like the last 3 or 4 years, even before Vic came in, they had couple pretty good runs. I kind of got into women's hoops more in like the postseason, right? And I would write about them in my 3-2-1 column, which I just posted last night. I didn't write about the Texas women's hoops team in my column last night because I had so much recruiting stuff. But I did watch the game last night while I was writing my column. What do I think about them? They're a gritty group. Vic Schaefer's a hell of a coach. That matchup with South Carolina is going to be tough, right? I think the winner of that game, with all due respect to, I think UCLA's, although I say that Connecticut's playing really good basketball, right? But UCLA is really good with that center of theirs. But I just think that the Texas South Carolina winner, I don't know, man, those teams are so battle tested. They're just tough. They rebound. I think the winner of that game might win the championship. But it's a fun to write. Like you said, it's nice to be able to watch a game, right? Omar, here's what I did, dude. I cooked a steak last night.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Dropped it in the sous vide, whatever. That's a whole other discussion. Cooked a steak, ate my steak, watched some hoops. Then I came and sat at my computer, typed my column, watched women's hoops. It was nice to be able to just kind of, we don't get those opportunities a lot, right?
No.
I mean, the football team's ultra competitive, but we're obviously working. The men's team, we can watch, but they haven't been ultra competitive, right? So it's nice to be able to watch a Texas program that's super competitive, having a lot of success, and just being like, all right, I don't have to write a game story after this thing.
Exactly. Like how everyone else is like, well, that was fun, and turn off the TV or go do something else in life and not have to work for the next 2 to 3 hours, So it was definitely fun to win. It was a great run by them. It's kind of like, for me, it serves as a reminder for the Rodney Terry situation. It's like, if you look around and you see the success all these other programs are having, it's like, oh yeah, that's probably why that needed to happen. But Vic Schaefer's got that thing cooking, man. Like he's a hell of a coach. Yeah, he is. And a good guy, by the way. Good guy.
I've only seen interviews. He sure seems like it, but I've never talked to him. Hey, listen, look at this, Omar. We did on Orange Bloods, we did a bracket challenge for the men and the women's. I just realized I think I've got all 4 of the women's Final Four picks correct. I'm in 9th out of 177. Let me look at this. I've got UCLA and Connecticut, and I have Connecticut with the upset there. And then I have Texas and South Carolina, and I prefer not to say who I picked in that game.
Fair enough. But that being said, Jason, you could have been making some extra dough, man.
I know. I should be right. Maybe I should be writing about women's hoops more often, right?
Over here messing around with prize picks, man. You could be out there.
Well, it is 3 number 1s and a number 2. I mean, it's not like I went out on some big limb here, right?
All right, Jason. Get out of here, dude. I'll see you on Teams today. I don't think I'm going to make the podcast.
Let me figure out how to get out of here. My thing's not working. There we go.
All right. That's what she said. Jason Sukamel, orangebuzz.com. If you join us late, go back and start over from the beginning. Watch it in 1.5 speed, and you'll be good to go. Modcast coming up at noon. Lots of things to discuss on the 40 acres, all these things that are going on. We're talking about women's basketball, hell, all kinds of sports. Still spring football is going on. So we got the Modcast that coming up at noon, of course, Football Friends, later on today at 6 o'clock. Remember, I always say, live each day like it was your last. One day it will be. Go out, do something great for yourself.